Okay.
Yeah, where were we?
Going back to my early years in school in Großlavere, we had about a mile and a half to walk to school. No school buses like here. We had to walk uphill both ways. And our school was from 8 o'clock in the morning, 6 days a week till 1. And every Tuesday and every Thursday, we had to go back at 2 o'clock till 4 for sports. And yes, we had all kinds of gymnastics and soccer games and whatever.
So you only had one day off a week for
Just
school?
Sunday, yes.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. But then we had to cram everything into 8 years of schooling. And yes, and the first couple of years after we started school, they had like a soup kitchen that my dad had to get a tin can, drill some holes in it, put a piece of wire through there so we had a handle. And we had soup, everyday soup. There was potato soup. And you were lucky to find a potato or two in your bowl. And we would sit down, no dining room or nothing. We had to, when we took our breaks, the recess, that's when we ate we sculpted down our soup and ate our sandwiches, which are made out of rye bread and either syrup on it or lard. And we eat, take a bite and then you take the soup. And that was our lunches.
And now, how old are you at this time?
7 and 8.
And you just described a tin can.
Yes.
So an empty tin can, and your father fashioned a string to it?
And no, just a wire. He drilled some holes in the top, so I had a handle.
Oh, so you could carry it?
Yes.
Oh, very nice.
Yes.
And so how much soup would that hold?
Oh, there was just one ladle full, that's it.
Okay, because you're a pretty young kid, but still.
Yes.
Wow.
So, but there was no calories, no nothing. There was mostly water. And sometimes we found a little piece of carrot. Most of the time, just one or two pieces of potatoes.
Wow.
And then when we got done with school at 1 o'clock, most of the time in summer, my mother would work in the fields by the farmer. So we had to go out and give her a hand. And especially when the sugar beets were ready to be harvested, you had to dig. First of all, when they were planted, they were all just sown in a row. And then you had a hoe, which that was about 10 inches. You sorted them out, you left just a little clump. And then a day or two later, on your hands and knees, you went and picked out and left just one sugar beet there.
You picked out the smaller ones,
Yes.
left the main.
Yes. And when they were ready to be harvested, we had to go out and dig them all out by hand. And they had a special tool, a prong that just went and dig them out, laying nice in a row. And then my brother Arnold was coming along with an ice scraper that were really sharpened and cut the tops off. So then we had to take the sugar beets, and we are allowed just so many piles per acre. So always nicely in a row so the farmer could just get through there with the horses and wagon, and they would load them up and take them to the sugar factory, which was just down the street from us, and they would be processed. That's where we got our syrup from, and our lard came actually from the pig that we slaughtered. So
You didn't name the pig, did you?
no, we didn't name the pig, no. And for quite a few years, I would help the farmer after school, because in school I wasn't the best student. But I liked to work on the farms with the horses and everything. So I had quite a bit to do, and we could get free straw for our pigs. and some fruit for food or for the pigs. So our sleeping quarters in the Kazarna, the first couple of years, my mother sewed together some bed sheets, and they were stuffed with straw.
Really?
Yes. So she had to lay it in just the perfect weight so you wouldn't get the pricks in your. So for quite a few years we slept on. There was just a bed frame and then some boards, and then about 4 inches of straw was piled into the sheet. And finally, my brother Otto, when he took his apprenticeship as a carpenter, and they also sold furniture, and the boss couldn't pay him, so my dad made a deal. We would take some mattresses, and my dad would pay Otto. So that's why we were at least 14, 15 years old when we got mattresses. So, yes.
Kids nowadays don't know how good they have
No,
it.
no,
Oh my
no.
goodness.
And even in my apprenticeships, the first year or so, when I went to classes to Pine, the girl that worked in the store or was a housekeeper or whatever, she went to school with me. Her name was Hildegard Windel. And she would make me a sandwich, and guess what? It was a large sandwich. And I finally told her, I says, don't make me no more sandwiches. I says, give me a piece of Danish or something like that. So, and when she gave me some Danish, some of the butcher boys saw me eating a piece of, and we traded sandwiches, real cold cut sandwiches for my Danish.
Oh, nice.
Yes. And in summer and winter, of course, you rode your bike. That's our transportation. And I didn't get, I actually got a moped when my brother Otto went to Canada, and I turned 16. So I could ride that, was 49 cc's. They got, if you had 50, you needed a driver license. So this was just, yes.
Just under.
You pedaled and then you let the clutch go, and yes. And so those were the years.
I bet you loved that.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. With that moped, I was all over. Mm-hmm.
Probably felt very fancy.
I felt rich. Yes, I didn't have to pedal no more.
Now, I want to back up to the bed thing. I'm kind of
Okay.
stuck there. So, who all slept in the bed? Was everybody?
No, there was bunk beds, mom and dad on the bottom, and on top was my brother Arnold and myself, and Otto slept on the couch, and the others. And my brother Ada was in the hospital.
Oh, wow.
So he spent 5 years in the hospital, and then
With tuberculosis. Right?
yes, in 1953 they operated and took one lung out.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes.
I didn't know that was a treatment for tuberculosis.
Oh, and there's,
To remove a lung?
Yeah.
they took one lung out, and he had a big scar in the back where they broke 6 ribs.
Oh.
Yes. And he kept on living a good life, smoking and drinking and dancing. But he didn't quite make it till 50. He passed.
That's
But he had a good
He
life.
had a good life, yes.
That's
yes.
the important thing.
He married late in life, and they had a good life. They came and visited us in the States.
Yeah.
And then we took him to Hamilton, Ontario, and of course then to Niagara Falls. And they enjoyed it. Then we took him to Canada, and I wasn't too happy.
Canada was not the good place?
No, because my brother and my sister-in-law, they were used to having a drink every once in a while. And at my brother's house, no alcohol whatsoever. None.
So Audie made sure we had a trunk full.
Yes.
That's just pre-planning.
Yeah.
You wonder, Audie forgot a lot of luggage in the trunk. They have to keep going out there and getting the luggage.
Yes.
And Otto and Tina Newton, they'd stand in the window and watch. Make sure they weren't smiling.
But yes.
So 16, back to there. You got your first moped, and you were the king of the community.
I
right?
was yes, I was the king. And I could go and visit my cousins, not on a bike, which they were about 2.5 hours away. I could get there within an hour and 15 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And stop on the way and have a beer.
Nice.
Yes. And my brother Arnold tried to drive the motorcycle, and he was not coordinated enough. He was just good in painting houses, hanging wallpaper, and playing soccer. And that is it. And he was the top wallpaper hanger in town. Everybody wanted Arnold. And he was quite a star in soccer.
But he was never going to be a valet driver for mopeds.
No. Matter of fact, one trip, Bonnie and I were over there, and his son talked him into getting a new Volkswagen. They went right to, since we're only about 20 miles away from Wolfsburg, they went right to the factory, and they picked him out. The Volkswagen was an automatic, and he had trouble driving that automatic. And then it came with heated seats, and it was in summer. He says, "Why is my butt getting so hot in that car?" So they had to show him that it's heated. You can just turn it off.
That's great. Oh, gosh.
And well, we went over a few times to Germany for 25th wedding anniversary, for Arnold's 50th. And then one time we went for a week to Italy, northern Italy, Tyrol. We always had a good time.
Oh, yes.
We took a bus tour to Italy, to Tyrol, and the taxi driver picked us up at 5 a.m. in the morning, and that's the first time Bonnie got scared sitting in a car. He would have drive about 60 miles an hour in town and 120 out of town. And but
it was a she. She never seemed to have.
no, she was the one driving us back. He was okay. So, but we got it there on the bus, and like it says, my brother Arnold, he put our suitcases on the wrong bus.
Oh, no.
And we were just about ready to take off, and his brother-in-law, Bernard, he called. He was the boss for the company there. He says, did the Winklers get it on the right bus? So we had to switch in a hurry.
Oh, my gosh. And what year were you married?
61.
Do you remember the date?
19th July.
July 19th.
We were going to get married on the 12th, but they couldn't get any blood out of her.
Oh, because they used to have to check your blood.
Yes.
That was that for HIV that they used to do that?
No, it was way before HIV.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm the wrong decade entirely.
Well.
What were they testing for back then?
If it's compatible, that if you have children, like...
For R factor?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't know that. Wow, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we today. I don't think we do any blood testing.
Matter of fact, I have a cousin, and they had to Elroy.
Yeah.
So it wasn't compatible. That he had to get transfusions and all kinds of stuff in Milwaukee.
Oh, wow.
Yes. They always had to. You had to have a blood test, and they poked her in the arms, and then they looked at her legs, and she says, "No way." So we had to postpone for a week because
your blood was just shy.
Yeah.
Chicken shit.
Same now. The girls hate to take blood from her.
You have shy veins.
I have shy veins.
What do you guys remember most about your wedding day?
That my sister-in-law kneeled in front of us and said, "You're gonna be frying in hell forever."
Oh my gosh! What? Why would she say such a thing?
Because we were Christians.
Yes.
Yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
These people are crazy. Well, they're dead now, but they were
They
crazy.
actually, they dressed up in dresses and some, but then she kneeled on the sidewalk in front of the house and
Concrete.
Oh my goodness. Doesn't she know that it's supposed to be at the church, right?
Yeah.
And when the priest says, "Is there anybody?"
No.
so
But
There
you
was-
obviously got married anyway.
we got married, yes. And the reason it got so fast is because her brother had a lease and we took over his lease.
Yes. Yes.
And the apartment I wasn't too happy with in Cinquetel. There was too many of her old relatives or in-laws,
In-laws.
the Thomasons, and they hated my guts. Matter of fact, we had a brand new car, and we parked behind the apartment building, and Bill, the father, he
Yeah.
went out and rolled down my windows, and we had a terrible storm.
And
So
when
the
he heard
next
that, so
next
he did.
morning,
Oh my
I opened the
goodness.
doors and the water just ran out there, and he's standing in the window laughing.
What a jerk.
Oh, he's
Yes.
terrible.
Not nice.
So we just
Did
lived
you get
there.
him back?
Yes.
And we don't have to say it
Yes.
out loud.
No.
No, we went out to see Bonnie's brother in Pine Falls, and it was all gravel roads. He had just a little 6-cylinder. I don't know what kind. And anyway, he always had to be the first in line, and we had to eat his dust. So I passed him up because I had a V8 and it was really moving.
Yeah.
And boy, he was going to kick the crap out of me when we stopped. Yes, he was just terrible, terrible.
All his children hated him, including his wife.
Yes,
Does that tell you about this
Gives you an
personality?
idea.
Yeah.
Hmm.
yes. So, then we moved into a French neighborhood,
Oui,
Saint
oui.
Boniface.
What was it called?
Saint Boniface
Ah. And that was where?
in Winnipeg.
In Winnipeg?
Yes, it was the French Quarter. And she hated it, and I hated it because they wouldn't speak to us.
So
No.
they're known even to this day. If you don't speak bonjour, even
So-
you, they're not nice.
Oh, they're horrible.
Finally, I went shopping with her, and I would only speak German. So
Yeah.
that's the way we got across. And 6 months later, we moved out there too. We moved a lot of times. 6 months stay, and then we moved.
That had to be hard though.
It was
That
horrible.
was, yes.
Yeah. Moving is terrible.
It is.
And it's
And-
hard work.
And we didn't have the right vehicles. It was all just in the cars, and
We drove what we could afford.
yes. But in 61, in January of 61, I was sick and tired of my old car, traded it in, and I bought a brand new Fairlane 500.
Ooh,
Yes.
nice.
Mm-hmm.
I bet you felt like king of the hill again.
I think that's why she married me, because I had a new car.
I'm already married to you.
No,
Oh,
no.
that's right. When we met, you had the Ford Fairlane.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking
Oh,
about.
okay.
Yes.
But he bought it right before you
The
guys
gray,
got married.
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, you bought it in January, and we didn't get together till February.
that's right.
And
You were married in July.
yes,
So you were engaged for 5 months?
no, just short. We met in April, we engaged in May, married in July.
That's even shorter.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. You must have known this was the one.
Well, I couldn't talk, and she just
I
rattled
told
on.
him I was the one.
Yes. She promised me, and I'm still waiting.
You're very patient.
But yes, patience I have. Lots.
So after you guys got married, where were you living?
We were living at St. Boniface. No.
No.
At St. Mary's Road in St. Vital.
Yeah.
And then we moved to St. Boniface.
Where were you working during that time?
I was working as a floor layer, hardwood floor layer,
Okay, and
And-
did that for a while.
and did it for a couple of years till my niece went to hell. And we made good money. I tell you that my wife was brought up in a grocery store and had maids and everything. And now this is 61 in Canada. Like I told you, we were getting 6.5 cents a square foot. We got paid once a month, and I brought
6.5 cents
a
per square foot.
Yes.
And houses then were not very large.
No. There were 1,000, 1,200 feet at that time, So the first month I brought home the money. It was $653. And Bonnie went shopping, and a week later she says, I need some more money. She had no idea. I mean,
I
just
had no idea about
living in the
shopping.
store, whenever she wanted a pack of cigarettes, she got a pack of cigarettes. Whenever she wanted a Pepsi, she went and got a Pepsi.
You found yourself a good husband.
Yes, I did.
And
I also learned how to manage money. I could squeeze every penny.
yes,
But in the beginning, I didn't know. He had to teach me, the fundamentals. But I learned fast.
Didn't do too good a job.
You complained during
Yes.
everything.
So, but we always stayed together, laughed a lot, and we both loved to dance.
Yes.
Both loved to dance. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
You worked at Safeway of Canada, right?
Once we got married, yes, and my niece went to health, and I went to Safeway and the
Yeah.
bakery.
And that was the first in-store bakery in a grocery store,
Yes,
is that right?
mhm.
Like they didn't have this before. It was a new concept.
Yes.
So you were part of this brand new thing where they had bakeries in a grocery store.
Yes.
And that was never
There was not.
previously you had to go to a bakery.
Yeah.
And the big boss, I never cared for him. And then I had a different foreman for a while. He was a Dutchman. And for Safeway, the big boss was Witzel, was his name, and German background. So one day he came into the store and he says, my parents always talked about the beautiful desserts and pastries and tarts that they have in there. He says, why didn't you make some? So I made him 4 tarts, 4 different cakes. And of course, the Dutchman, I forgot his name now, Ted, he took it and he said he made them. So a couple of weeks later, Witzel came in there and he says, how long does it take you to make some? I says, what do you mean? I didn't get a report how you liked it. He says, Ted brought him in. He says, he made him.
Oh.
So he was transferred to 50 miles west of Winnipeg to Portage La Prairie, a little hole in the wall, where he was a bakery manager there, but he was lazy. He just liked to sit at a coffee counter and flirt with the girls. Baking he never did. So, but he talked me into one of the store managers. He moved from Montreal to Winnipeg, and the house that he bought needed inside painting. And the kitchen needed to be remodeled. He couldn't get his fridge in there. The cupboards were so low. So I was sent out there, punch in the bakery, and go out to his house and work, and then go back and punch out. And so they never knew that I was not.
Oh my gosh.
That went on painted the whole inside of the house and remodeled the kitchen.
Oh,
And
wow.
yes. So if they would have found out.
He had a good thing going.
So I did a lot of strange things, and just if they gave me a challenge, right, I had to I said, I'll try my best. So and it always worked out, and if not, she told me it was wrong, but then together we worked it out, and we made it.
So you had told me when you first worked at Safeway, they didn't hire you as a baker. They
No,
hired you as a
dishwasher.
dishwasher.
Mm-hmm.
Because they didn't know you had any talent whatsoever.
No.
And was it when you made those tours? When did they discover that this guy maybe should be
Yes.
washing dishes?
And one of the best customers that we had was her uncle, Sid. He was an engineer for the Canadian National Railroad, and he was gone for weeks at a time, but when he came into Winnipeg, he was an usher, they call it.
Yeah, he was a nice.
He liked his sweets, and he would come no matter which Safeway store I worked, and he would fill his shopping carts with just
and called him the nephew.
the favorite
He was
nephew.
the favorite.
Yes. I don't think he knew my name. I was the favorite nephew.
Yeah.
Yes, and he was very good to us. So was his wife.
Yeah.
And matter of fact, his wife, when she went to school in Winnipeg, she graduated with Lone Green.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
And they were very kosher. I don't think when Lauren went to Hollywood, he was so kosher.
People change.
Yeah.
We met him in Milwaukee
Yeah.
at the Performing Arts
Yeah.
Melody Top.
Yeah, that's right, Melody.
Yes.
Top. And I did introduce myself, but I waited till everybody else had, talked to him. And he was a very nice man, family man.
Yeah, he remembered.
Yeah, everybody remembered Auntie Esther. She was cute as a button.
Aw.
4'10".
Yeah?
Yes.
That's short.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
She was short.
She's a giant in her family.
Yeah.
I guess so.
Yes.
Ah. So as time went on with the Safeway Bakery, did you guys have to move as they opened more stores?
No, that was all in Winnipeg. They opened 12 stores in Winnipeg.
Oh, so you could drive
Yes.
there.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Drive your fancy car.
Mm-hmm.
On days when Bonnie wasn't using it.
She
I
didn't
never
have a driver license
No?
then.
You didn't
No.
have one then?
Oh, you had a driver license because you drove me nuts.
Yeah.
So the first time we were going out, and we were going to see my cousin 40 miles south of Winnipeg. And she wants to drive. So I let her behind the wheel, and within seconds she was up to 110 miles an hour.
Oh, good job.
Well, it moved so well,
So before I grabbed my pants, I said, pull over. And, driving with Bonnie, she couldn't tell left from right. She always had to have my ring finger or the other way. So it was an adventure driving with her.
That sounds like fun.
Oh my
Yes.
God. Yes. But she made it. She got wherever she wanted to go and found her way back. Damn it.
It's not like she's going to lock herself out of the car or anything.
Oh, quite often. Can I tell you the story about the convertible?
I'd love to hear the story.
Okay. When we moved to Milwaukee from the East Coast, we had bought a 65 Mustang convertible.
Now this is before you're in Winnipeg, right?
No, after.
Oh, this is after, okay.
Yes, that's in 67.
Okay.
So we bought this Mustang convertible, blue with white top, looked gorgeous.
It's the only thing we could afford.
And so when we lived in Milwaukee, she didn't want to drive. She wasn't too happy in Milwaukee because we moved from New England, which was booming, to Milwaukee, to a pretty rough area. And she didn't want to drive. But then after a while,
I waited 45 minutes at a bus stop. I came home and I said, Audie, I'm going to learn to drive in the States.
So she drove, and I was working that time as a carpenter with my brother Otto, and he picked me up in the morning and then brought me back. And one day he dropped me off in front of the house, and I walked upstairs and the phone is ringing. And here it's my wife crying. She had locked the keys in the car and locked the doors. So
It happens.
I had to call my brother come across Milwaukee, pick me up, drive me to the shopping center. And I said, which store are you in? She was in Kohl's. So I met her in Kohl's, and she's crying. And I says, where did you park the car? Did you walk out the wrong door or something? No. She showed me, and we're walking across the parking lot, and there's my blue convertible with the top down and the keys in the ignition.
And Bonnie's locked out.
And Bonnie's locked out, yes. So that shopping center was turning for the worst. And I don't know if somebody walked back to her and must have thought this is a setup. A beautiful car with the keys in the ignition and the top down. So we had a laugh or two.
Yeah.
They probably did think you were setting them up.
Yeah.
This lady claims she's locked out.
Mm-hmm.
That's my favorite story.
Yes.
Oh, gosh.
And another time we had a blue Ford and a brown Dodge.
Yes.
And she always drove the blue Ford, and I drove the Dodge. One day, she come home after work, she says, you better take my car, there's something doesn't sound right. So I took her car and checked it all out, and then took it to work. And she took the Dodge to work. She parked it in a big shopping center in the parking lot. When she got out, she stood right next to the Dodge. And had to go back in the store, call me, crying. Somebody stole our car. So I had to get in the Ford, drove down. It was quite a few miles, so to Southridge. And I drive up, and she sees the blue Ford, and she says, oh my God, am I stupid?
Oh, I think that's an easy mistake.
And yes, and I agreed with her. I didn't agree too much, but then,
The one time you agreed.
yes.
Oh, gosh.
Stories, and they go on and on.
Mm-hmm.
And from Milwaukee, we moved to Watertown,
Yes.
Wisconsin, where we had the bakery for 10 years.
Yes.
And working with your wife 7 days a week, 24 hours. There was...
When you bought the bakery, did you buy with someone else, or was it just
yes. No, we had a partner.
you? How was that?
Yeah, it was a year and 4 months. It was so bad that Bonnie would have to take the checkbook and lock it in her car. Because once in a while we took off on a weekend, or spent with friends, and she worked 5 days a week, and Rita worked 2.
Yeah.
And then they would take more money out of the bakery than we did. They just wrote themselves checks.
Ooh.
Yes,
That's
so
not good.
no. And so Bonnie had to take checkbook and lock it up. And every once in a while she says, Rita, we're going for a ride. So the two of them would talk and she had just she figured that after a year in our own business, she would be driving a brand new Mercedes. That's what her husband promised her.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, he was a liar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I worked, of course, every morning from 3:30 till Horst would come around 5. And he wants to start with the pastries. And I give him hell. I says, first you do the bread and buns and everything. So just, and Rita on weekends, she says, Horst, you're a boss too. You're a boss too. I says, he's got no common sense. I have to tell him. So, didn't go over too well. It didn't.
So how did you end up separating ways, like parting?
We had...
Yes. They said, in their words, a Hebrew lawyer.
Yeah. They went to Milwaukee to pick up a Hebrew lawyer to screw the Jew in Watertown.
Oh, okay.
So the lawyer came. At that time, he charged $150 an hour. He drove an hour from Milwaukee to Watertown, and he took us out to lunch. And then it's another hour. And then he drove back, and he says, those are the dumbest people. How did you ever find them? He said, went into the Jew, and he says, my buddy told me I should get a Hebrew lawyer to screw the Jew in Watertown.
It didn't work out so well for him, did it?
No. He came and especially he took us out to eat, and of course the partner paid for it because he charged it for it. And they never caught on. And once in a while, when we took off on a weekend, we had a dairy store, a Dairy Queen, Dairy Mullins.
Mullins Dairy.
Mullins Dairy. And Horst would go and charge whipping cream and make himself a couple of Black Forest torts, took them to Milwaukee, and never paid Bill, the owner of the dairy. And finally, Bill, the owner, came to me. He says, Audie, there's a couple of $100 that you, close to $1,000. I says, for what? Well, Horst comes and gets whipped cream and doesn't pay. I says, what does he need the whipped cream for? So there was all stuff he took to Milwaukee and sold to friends
Oh my goodness.
and took the money. And then they figured they would, since we just started, they took $1,100 a week out of the bakery.
That's a lot of money.
Yes. So she put down her foot and took the checkbook.
I tried talking to them, but you couldn't talk to them. They made up their mind, and they listened to their mother-in-law, Rita's mother, who I don't know where she got her ideas from. And it wasn't a good thing.
No, it wasn't. But I learned an awful lot. We learned an awful lot
Yeah.
having our own shop.
You learned not to have a partner,
Yes.
except for your wife.
And we had monthly meetings in Madison, the concerned bakers. And whenever a company came from Germany with their supply, with their stuff, trying to get into the States, for instance, Abel and Schaefer,
Yeah.
with the rye bread, since the flour, they brought it to our bakery, and I would make the samples, and they would take to the show. And we had a company that's with vanilla.
Yeah.
Remember, I had to make all kinds of pretzels for them. They show, so whenever they had something special going on there, I made all the Danish for the show, because when we made them, not just me, but Dane too, my son, he was good. He was really good at making Danish toast. And so we could show them off. I mean, the suppliers would give us free fillings and something like that, and just to make it look good.
Nice.
So one year at National Bakers Convention in Milwaukee. I had just quit Harder's Bakery. We went down our own. And the Wisconsin Bakers Association came to me and they says, we want to put up a bakery of the future. And we would like some nice stuff in there. Can you make us some torts or something like that? And I made 7 torts and 6 were the best in the show.
You're kidding.
No. I mean, I was competing right to my expo, the next.
Uh-huh.
But yes,
I bet that felt good.
Yeah.
that's Döler from Germany. That's a whipped cream flavored. They came and we had to make all kinds of strawberry chocolate whipped creams and raspberry whipped creams in it, and in little chocolate cups that they would sell. It's like a cupcake liner, but it's chocolate. And we would fill it with strawberry whipped cream, and it really looked nice. Put a nice glaze on there. It was always. I always ended up front showing them something, or because the other bakers, for instance, they've been baking for years, forever and ever, a wedding cake. And speaking of wedding cakes, Bonnie, I used to ice wedding cakes. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fast and good, nice and straight. But I taught her how to put the dividers in between and put parchment paper. And we went to the Bakers Convention, and then they said they were putting coconut so they wouldn't stick together. I said, you put coconut. I says, why don't you just put a parchment paper and put a ring of frosting, and it just like a vacuum cleaner, it just sucks. And when she cut the cakes, she just put the palette knife and then and it would come up so nice and clean.
You wouldn't listen to us.
Yes. So that was our, my brother Otto, when he was still alive, and we went to Canada to make a wedding cake for his son. And he couldn't believe how Bonnie would put that wedding cake together. And it was over 6 feet tall.
Wow.
And yes.
Because you're not that tall, Bonnie.
No,
No,
I'm not.
well, these were all in with dividers in between and just.
Yeah. But I learned, and I learned to make things easier for me because I'm short. But
I mean, a 6 foot tall cake. 6 feet tall.
Yes. Mhm.
That's really tall.
I had to stand on a chair to put the top layer on.
Wow.
It was 450 people. And they watched till Bonnie cut up every piece of that wedding cake. They thought it was styrofoam.
Really?
yeah.
Yes. Yes.
I couldn't believe it was real.
So,
Is this the same bakery? There was one that made potato chips.
This,
that's Poggles. That
yeah,
was
that
ours.
was
Yes.
ours.
Yes.
Yeah. I had never heard of a bakery making potato chips
it-
before.
It didn't please me, but he was making potato chips since
And they made money.
1933, and we never staled a potato chip. I mean,
Never.
they all sold 600 pounds of potatoes.
Wow.
Yes.
How many?
600 pounds of potatoes.
600 pounds. That's
Yeah.
a lot.
Yes. That will take us just about all day.
And they would all sell out?
Mm-hmm. We would
I
deliver
understand the torch selling out, but potato chips?
we would deliver ounce and an eighth to the bars. My son would go in the afternoon with
In little
boxes.
packages?
Mm-hmm. And we also sold to Cole's food store
Yeah.
in 6-ounce bags, plastic bags, and 1 pounder.
Ooh.
And the people that knew about Poggles potato chips, they had moved away, and some of them would live in California, some of them in Florida. And when their friends with the semis would come through Watertown, they would call us, and they had 60 pounds of potato chips ready for them.
60 pounds.
Yeah, they block the streets.
Yeah, they would just park the 18-wheeler right in the middle of the...
Go fight with them.
Yes.
But we had everything ready. It was a 5-minute deal. But
Wow.
And I only liked them when it first came out of the fryer and put salt on there.
yeah,
Or on the end, I would make some and salt the potato chips and then dip them in chocolate.
Ooh, that's
Yeah.
that's the winner right there.
Yes. So, and we also did a lot of fruit. We dipped in like strawberries and chocolate, white chocolate and dark chocolate, and a lot of anise candy.
yeah, that was a big thing.
Yes. And
Anna's candy?
anise candy, yes.
What was that?
That's a hard candy. I mean, it just, you boil, I forgot now what, and you boil it to 325 degrees, and then in a copper kettle, and then you put your color in there, and you pour your oil of anise, and the smell is just, it takes your breath away.
Yeah.
It just gets into your nostrils, and you pour it on a
Marble?
A
marble sheet with a frame around it, stainless steel frame, and you wait till it dries, it cools, then you score it with a pastry cutter, and then you start breaking it with your fingers.
Oh.
Yes. I had cuts on my, because they're so sharp.
Is that that candy that you then put in powdered sugar or something?
No. There's just anise. The people that love it, they really love it. When I first moved up here, they mentioned that we had a bakery in Watertown in Minocqua, and people said, "Did they make the anise candy?" And they said, "Yes." Well, whatever he makes, bring it over here. So it's always a 10-pound slab. So they took 10 pounds at a time.
Wow. That's a lot of candy.
They really loved the anise candy. And a lot of almond bark.
Yeah.
And whatever would sell. Oh, another thing is I made top of a Ritz.
Yeah.
Top of a Ritz cracker. I piped peanut butter, put it in the freezer for a couple of minutes, and then dip it in chocolate.
Oh. That sounds delicious.
Yes, so that was top of the Ritz, we called it. And they really went.
Yes, they went crazy. Also, it was cheap.
Yes.
Watertown's very cheap. They're a very rich town.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very cheap.
Yeah, they had 26 millionaires within city limits.
Wow.
And they were all the ones that the day old bakery, they would be first in line.
Yeah.
Well, they got their money
Yes.
somehow.
Mm-hmm. What else can we?
Say June 6, 1981. What did you do then? That was the Old World Bakery?
Yes.
Where was that at?
That was in Watertown.
Okay, and then after that, you ended up moving.
To Iron River.
I've heard of that place.
Yes. Fred Angeli came down and he interviewed us for 4 hours and promised us heaven on earth.
Yeah.
He was the owner of this Angeli store. And he took a sample of just about everything we made. And he came back here and I heard from the store manager that they had at that time, Mangoni, that, oh my God, now we hired a baker. He knows what to do. He is just, and when I came up here, the first year was fine. And then
We closed down the house.
we bought the house, and Fred Angeli's brother-in-law is a lawyer. He said to my son, he says, I think your dad made a mistake. Now he's got payments. Fred has got him by the, yes. And that's the way it turned out. They had me.
Because you were stuck with house payments and
Yes.
hard to go anywhere else.
And by that time I was 50 years old. and who wants to hire a 50-year-old man. And so I stayed and drove him nuts. I could do it.
Yeah, and you did.
Mm-hmm. And now, this is 2024. I'm retired for 18 years. And I'm still living in the neighborhood. And I'm making more cakes out of the house now, my specialties, than I ever made. It's just people that taste my frosting will have nothing else but Audie's frosting.
This is true. I have heard this at the care center. They won't eat the other cakes.
No.
Only yours.
Mm-hmm.
They sneak the other cake into the garbage. They do.
Yeah.
How many cakes did you make last week?
11.
And how many this week?
There's 4 this week.
That's an awful lot.
And 2 of them are 10-inch chocolate, raspberry chocolate ganache. Ganache is, I melt regular chocolate, and then when it's about 95 degrees, you have to be really careful. You pour whipping cream in it, and you mix it up, put it back in the microwave, and when the temperature is back to 95 again, you can pour it on that chocolate frosted cake very carefully and let it cool, and then you decorate it. So that's extra work, and they're paying me extra money for it.
Yes, they should. I bet it's going to be delicious.
I have one lady in Florence. She's a lawyer, and I made some cakes for her, and I charge her $50 a cake, and she says, they're too cheap, I give you $75. And she is happy, and she really brags up my cakes.
I think that is a good price. When I turned 50, I got a two layer cake, and it was about yay big, 10 inches. Paid $85. $85. So I think yours is a deal comparatively, because it did not taste as good.
Oh my God, I forgot a very important story yet. When I was living at home yet, I showed you the shooting tower that they built in the before 1618. And forget it. I'll be right back.
Is it on this wall here?
No, just on the...
We'll sit and watch Bonnie. Hi, Bonnie.
Hi.
Do you want to tell us a story while we're waiting for him?
Yes.
She's thinking of a good one. Oh no, he's back. He's going to catch us.
There was a fortress that was built. You couldn't call it a castle, but it was something that when they had the 30-year-old war in Germany, the Lutherans were fighting the Catholics, and
They still are.
from 1618 to 1648, I was there. So they built this fortress, and the river went all the way around. And us kids, we were jumping around and diving into that river. And one of my friends, he was really athletic, and he dove in there. And when he came out, he had his hand stuck in a sword from the 1600s.
Really?
And I still remember there was a lion head, and those eyes, those must have been rubies, because they were fighting from Braunschweig to Hildesheim. Now this is Braunschweig, that's the castle that he had, okay, the king. And that's where the sword was from. His mother actually I don't know what she did with it, but they moved away from here, and we never. This is the fortress that
Oh,
they had.
this one right here.
Hmm.
That is neat.
And in this picture here, this is the thickness of the wall. Was at least 8 feet thick, all concrete.
Wow.
Yes.
You had said that the building was very different from the way we do it in the States, where we build paper walls.
Yes.
8 feet thick
Mm-hmm.
stone walls.
Yes.
That's
And
built
now-
to last.
Now they made a church out of it.
Really?
They're still holding church. It was built in the 1600s, and there's my school was built in 1904, and that's the way it looks. We went to the same classroom in 2012.
Yeah.
And students are still using this class,
Yes.
this school.
Mm-hmm.
That's remarkable. That is remarkable.
So when don't know what actually where they moved to when Bonnie came out with that sword, and I don't know, she turned it into a museum or whatever, but
Wow.
they had enough to move someplace else.
Maybe she sold it, moved someplace else.
Yes.
In that area around that fortress, the river would go by, and there was the first water mill black powder
Oh, really?
factory. Matter of fact, they had an explosion, and that building had 3 floors, so the top one was blown off totally.
Did anybody get hurt?
I don't know this,
Yeah. Ooh.
but yes, there was. They had mills where they made black powder, but that's the only one that they had with the water wheel. The current of the river would turn that wheel.
Uh-huh. That's pretty neat.
So there's all kinds of history in that area.
Yeah.
That's what.
When we were at the church, the church now, and you could look in the windows, and of course the windows are like.
On the outside, they were about 4 by 4, and the inside, they were about 9 by 9 inches.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
they
so
could
the-
shoot out, and anything that would come would bounce off the sides.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, and we just looked at that, and I stepped back and I turned around, and a cow went, ooh, and I said, the cows speak English.
Of course, my brother didn't get the sense of humor.
Yeah, I thought I was very clever.
I think you are.
Arnold did not see the humor at all.
You know what? He probably doesn't speak English and couldn't understand the cow.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
But I got lectures from Arnold all the time.
Yeah, but you didn't understand them.
I understood plenty.
My brother Arnold was really good in organizing trips, parties, or anything. I mean, he was so particular. When we took the trip by bus to Italy, he made sure that every day on the bus was a bottle of champagne for Bonnie.
Aw, that's so nice.
Imported from Spain.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the champagne.
And whenever we went around to friends in my town, he made sure that every one of them had a bottle of champagne for Bonnie, and the same brand. So, yeah, I thought she was becoming an alcoholic. Every day she finished a bottle. And yes, and on the bus, of course, we had a hostess, and Frau Schneider.
Frau Schneider.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice lady.
And every morning at 9 o'clock, she says, Winklers, what would you like to drink? No, bring us a Jägermeister and a beer. And eine Coca-Cola, bitte.
Yeah.
one Coke, please, for her. Yes, they all had, because I still remember the old, when they were talking not as much English as they do now. That's the way we used to say, eine Coca-Cola bitte. Not now anymore. Give me a Coke.
You guys have had a very good life together.
Yes. Yes.
And we're coming up on how many years of marriage?
63.
I was going to have Bonnie answer this one.
Oh, okay. But
How
she
many,
was,
Bonnie?
yeah, 36.
I get things mixed up.
You know what? 36 is a good year, too.
Yeah.
No, 63 years. That's quite impressive.
Yes. But the Winklers don't get divorced. They don't split up. I would have been the first one, and that's no good. The youngest, the last
He's
one,
stuck
no
with
way.
you.
I figured, no, why should I make her happy?
Oh, you
Yes.
guys are a wonderful couple, though, really.
You suffer with me.
I heard you earlier say suffer in silence.
Yeah.
Give me a slug of your... There's no brandy in it.
No.
I'm running out of...
I remember a cake-orama that you had while here.
Yes. At Angeli's, yes. And I talked to the suppliers, the vice president from Cisco, Rich Johnston, and he came up here and he worked a week for nothing, for free.
For you.
Brought supplies, and we sold 1,500 cakes. And not an hour overtime, no nothing. It was just, we set up right in the hallway in front of the customers and did your single layers with fruit and whipped topping. And we sold them all. And instead of saying we did a good job, they said, why don't we sit down and mark down all the mistakes we made so we can know next time what not to make. And I says, you got all these cakes sold, no overtime. And I was told, well, from now on, if I go on vacation, I have to get one of these supplier bosses to come in and help out in the bakery. And that didn't go over with Rich. He said to Fred, I only put on my whites for Audie because we've been friends with you for years. And
That's loyalty.
yes.
And they all felt like that.
The Angeles, at first when we came up here, they would only buy their supplies from one warehouse. And they charged, when I saw the prices, they were too high. I says, we need some competition. So I got Cisco involved. I got Carbs out of Milwaukee and Valley Bakers to come in. And then there was a little competition, and then I always knew how to get stuff for free because there were so many things that when ganache came out first here in the United States, the salesman had a bucket of ganache and he didn't know what to do with it. So we came to Iron River and he says, Audie, I got a bucket of ganache. Can you? And at that time, that bucket was close to $100. And can you use it? I says, you bet. And same with the rye breads and coffee cakes. I used to make a coffee cake, a honeydew coffee cake. In German, they call it a Bienenstich. It is a coffee cake dough, and then you take butter, sugar, and sliced almonds, and you melt them with butter and spread it over the coffee cake. You bake it, and after it's cool, something like that, you slice it, you split it, and you fill it with a good custard.
Oh, and it was my favorite.
And there was the honeydew coffee cake. Remember the gal that talked to us last time, in the tall blonde? What was her name? Well, anyway. And also, we made a lot of plum coffee cakes.
Really?
Oh, yes. A plum coffee is also just a regular sweet dough that you take small Italian plums, small ones, and you take the pit out, and then you got two halves. Well, two halves, you make two little cuts. Don't cut them right in half, just a little, and then you shingle on, just like shingles on the roof.
Oh.
Standing up, okay? Proof them, bake them. Oh, put streusel on.
Sugar.
Bake them, and then as soon as it comes out of the oven, you take cinnamon sugar and sprinkle it over.
That sounds delicious.
And we couldn't make enough of those.
Yeah.
And even here, if I made it for one of the owners, Rex Angeli, said, whatever you make, I'll buy it.
Yeah. Rex has always been a friend.
Yes.
And of course, Fred was a prick.
Somebody's got to have each job.
So
Yes.
I think they really screwed up, I would say, with not letting me make my specialties, and just I could make brownies and I could make 30-foot subs and 30-foot brownies, and but any housewife can open a package and make brownies,
Right.
and fresh out of the kitchen when it's just iced. It's better than day old. And they wanted me to make Italian bread, donuts, and then something I hated was pasties.
Oh, yeah.
There's no business in the bakery, the pasties. And the way they were making them for years, and we had to make them for our store here and the store in Menominee, okay? And we used to slice the potatoes. And if you slice the potatoes, there's starch in there, they stick together, and then you mix it with onions and pepper and butter and you roll out a piece of dough, and then you seal them. And I never liked the way they looked. I hated making them, but I finally talked them into dicing the potatoes. It would be much easier and better. And finally, I talked them out of it.
No more pasties.
No more pasties. I said, that screws up the bakery. We have, in the mixing bowl, we got meat in there, and we got all kinds of stuff. And the next day we're baking,
Oh, yeah.
or making a meringue or something like that in there. And finally, they listened to me. At first, when I came up here, I started baking at 10 o'clock at night. We would be done at 6 in the morning. Well, the store opened at 7 o'clock in the morning. So there was no smell, no left. I said to the boss, I said, that's totally wrong. We should be baking during the daytime. And I says, even if we would take hot dog buns and slice them, throw them in the oven with cinnamon sugar on there, that gives such a nice smell. And that's what that's why the bakery are always on the other end of the store.
Yep.
So they want you to come and
Follow that scent.
Yes. But after a couple of years, they called me in the office and says, how would you like to work days? I said, didn't I hear that somewhere before? So they didn't like because I had smart answers.
Well,
And
it's
just-
true. You did.
Mm-hmm. And it was tough 17 years, but I stuck it out.
Yeah, you did.
I would not give in. Oh, before we sold the bakery in Watertown, I had 3 offers. Angeli to come here to Iron River. I could go to Disney World in Florida or to War Road, Minnesota.
You picked Iron River over Disney World?
Well, the thing is, we talked to salespeople and they said, Audie, if you go to Disney, you only work with students. You never, as soon as they learn something, they're gone. So you're always just teaching. Every semester, and
You said no.
I said no because I think they should know, because if I show them once, they should, because that's what you say to Bonnie. Damn it, I showed you once.
That's what you say to me. Also, we found out that Disney does not pay well, and we'd have to get a second job.
Oh.
They just don't pay well. They're known for that.
Well, I'm glad you chose Iron River then.
Well, the money is only for them.
Yeah.
So
Well, they haven't never changed.
that's the offers I had, and I chose this. Bonnie wasn't happy. She couldn't get a job up here.
Really?
She could not get a job.
Why?
I was a woman.
Oh, I
Woman
forgot.
and over qualified.
Yeah, that's
You
the
just so finally she took a job at Ski Rule at the childcare.
Did you walk in limping and cross-eyed for them to give you a job?
She went to Kentucky Fried Chicken. They wouldn't hire her.
What?
thing. I mean, come on. Can't get lower than Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Oh my goodness.
So I kind of bonded with Angie.
Uh-huh.
Doll.
Yeah, Angie.
She was a
Doll.
Polish.
Yeah, she was.
Her brother owns the ski hill.
He stole Ski Hill. And Angie and I liked each other. And I was the only one who could outbitch her. And we did.
I don't know her, but I'd like her too.
Yeah. Yeah, you would. And we'd have screaming matches. And she would do the Polish stomps, turn on her heel and go. And her and Steve would come later on in the afternoon, say, do you have time? I said, yeah, I've got most of the kids gone. And they would explain to me that Steve was the owner and she was second in command. I said, but I'm in charge of the children. Yes, Bonnie, but what you don't understand is Steve is the owner and Angie's second in command. I'd say, what you don't understand is I take care of the children. So the joke at the ski hill was, and then I had Melina was, I forget his first name, and he was supposed to be my direct boss. Well, they didn't know what I did, and I didn't have time to teach them. And he came up one day, and he wanted the boys to do one thing and the girls do something else. And I said, no, that's against the law. I said, the girls are just as good as the guys, and they should do, but what's asked of them. And my granddaughter, Andrea, was a fabulous skier. And she was also very beautiful. And they thought that she shouldn't be teaching, she should only be teaching girls, not boys. And I said, no, that's not going to happen. And Melanow, I don't remember his name. Anyway, this one morning we had an argument, which is normal. And I said to him, Chip.
Yes.
His name was Chip.
Mm-hmm.
I've never known anybody named Chip, but I knew him. Anyway, he came in and he gave me the orders for the day. He says, you're not writing this down. I says, it's not worth writing. And we're arguing. And I said, Chip, you've got to realize, Steve owns property. Angie's in charge. And then I've got all you little people trying to do what they tell you. But the one thing you've never figured out is that I outrank Steve. He says, you can't outrank him. He owns it. I says, no. He thinks he owns it, but I'm in charge. I says, no, get the hell out of here before I hit you. So he goes up the hill, and he's talking to himself. And he's all upset. And he stops in front of Steve and Angie. And he says, do you know what Bonnie Winkler told me? They'd say, yeah, but you can tell us. And he says, Steve owns it. Andy's second in command. And then there's all us little people. And then there's Bonnie, who outranks everyone. And Steve and Angie looked at each other and looked at Chip and said, yeah, we know that. Well, he took off. And they came in later on. They said, have you had lunch? And I said, no, I just got rid of the last one. And I was going to have lunch. And they said, what have you got for lunch? You know, and I always brought. And so we're eating. And then while we were eating, they were telling me that Chip is very upset with me. And they said, Bonnie, what are you going to do about this? I said, nothing. He'll get used to his place. And he did. And he was a real good skier. He was, 3? They have, they're like,
They're ranked.
yeah, they are ranked. And he was ranked 3, which is
pretty good.
very
Yes.
good.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
He still didn't outrank Bonnie.
he did not rank Bonnie. Nobody did. And but Steve and I fought all the time. He wanted to be the boss, and he would pull crap at the last minute just to piss me off.
Somebody's got to do it.
And I figured I got to do something else. So that's when I found real estate. Once we were done, I found real estate, and I told Angie that this is my class. And so she's on the phone to Steve, and he's saying to her, and I can hear, Angela, what's wrong with you? Why can't we keep these good people? She says, Steve, if you didn't antagonize them, they would stay. I don't antagonize anybody. Well, he's unreasonable. But,
Takes all kinds to make up this world.
yes. And then he had his wife doing payroll, and she did it when she felt like it. Well, they made big money. Their employees didn't. So we all go down, was it Thursday night? And I was already there, so I went and, got my check. And everybody's there, and they're crying, and they're upset. And they come to me, and they says, what is it? What's going on? Well, Sharon did the payroll, but then she took off and didn't give us our checks. Well, Angie is making big money. And I said, Angie, these people don't have gas to go home. And so she started giving me, well, if I know how much I make, I just live between those. And I said, Angie, I know what you make. These people are making less than half.
Quarter.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I said, and they have children. I says, all you have is a bunch of toys. Well, what do? I said, you get the checks and you give them. I says, and if they have to go home, if Sharon can't get back here in time, which she knows better, I said, we fill up their tanks with our gas. Well, I can't. I said, I'll sign. And I did. And they all got gas. And I said, when you come in the morning, be first at Sharon's office and take no for do not take no for an answer. And if you have to be crammed in her office so she can't get in and she'll get all upset, that's what you do. And I made sure I was there too. And I go, kids, I got my check. And then I stood there and I let each one in. And she says, I want to talk to you when this is over. I says, talk away. I'm on the clock. And she says, you can't do that. I said, Sharon, how much money do you get a month? Well, I don't think that's any of your business. I said, you get $888 a week. That's what you get. I said, do you know what Jose, whatever his name is, what he gets a week? No. I says, he's making $46.
Wow.
For the family. I said, I think you and Steve better have a talk. And with Angie. And decide how much a raise all these people are going to get. Because if they don't, we're making signs. And we're walking.
Good.
Well, what they would do is get all Polish workers or from South America. Mm-hmm. They could pay them whatever they wanted. Okay.
Is that what they did?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And then, after the Polish workers were here for a few months, and they're paying them God knows what, they did feed them. Mm-hmm. And but they did charge them for rent.
Okay.
But they got, the place slept 8, and they got 16 in there. And I told them, I says, you don't pay these people better? We're gonna organize. And Stephen, Bonnie, you can't keep doing this to me. I said, sweetheart, if you don't have a conscience, I have to be your conscience.
One day we were out there at the ski hill, and Steve came over to me and he says, Audie, we have, what's the place called on the other side of the hill? Homestead.
Yes.
Homestead every Thursday, and we would like you to be the entertainer, to sing. And it sounded pretty good. He says, I'll pay you good money. So finally I said, Steve, well, what about this? You have all your own equipment, he says. You buy all your own equipment. And then I pay you $8.50 an hour. I said, Steve, go to hell.
So he came to me, talk to your husband. I says, first you tell me what you told him. And then I could talk to him. And he told me, I says, you fucking crazy. I said, I don't know how you get people now, if that's what you're paying them.
Oh boy.
And they have to have their own equipment.
That's not right.
So.
You know what I think might be interesting and fun? Would you want to, at some point, we could record you baking or making something?
Yes, I would love to.
And if you felt like telling a story that comes into your mind during that time, we can record that too.
Yes, there have been people asking me for that.
Everybody wants your recipes, so I don't know how much you want to hide.
Yeah.
I can give out all the recipes, okay?
And they're still not going to make it the same.
No, it's because they have to watch me. They have to, like the ganache. If you heat up chocolate by 115, you burn it. And 95, and I don't have the thermometer, my finger. It's just the tip of my finger tells me.
When I first learned how to make candy, I didn't know there was a thermometer. I had an old cookbook, and you know the when you would drop it in the cold water to see if it would harden, and that's how I learned. Years later, I learned there was a thermometer I could have been using. Oh.
Yeah, that's a good idea. That's definitely.
All right, so next time they see us, you're going to be baking something.
Okay.
All right.